Although this really doesn't happen that much in the studio, it definitely happens when you're doing live events or PA, especially when you have an array of speakers or you're really driving power and making a lot of noise with your PA system. And you can have all the settings right and all the gain structure correct and nothing's going over and everything's in the green, and still you're hearing distortion coming out of the speakers. And you're sure that your speakers aren't blown and everything's good there and your cables are okay. Well, the next thing to do, unfortunately, is to whip out a voltage meter and plug it into the wall and find out how that voltage is doing. Because, at least in America, and North America rather, if your voltage starts getting below 108, then what's happening is the amplifiers aren't getting enough power to power the speakers to the level that you're using them at. And so you're going to hear that kind of distortion. The amplifiers are just not able to push, and you're hearing this crackling, frying egg noise. This really doesn't happen that often, in the studio, unless you get down to about 104, 103, and it starts going even lower. Then you're starving out your digital gear, and you're going to be hearing all kinds of weird things like corrupted files and weird, digital noises and things, while the machinery is trying to keep up with constant brownout. And actually what happens is you get an overheating issue, which you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why does that happen? But things get hot as they get browned out until they finally just shut down. But in a PA situation or a live event, you're not sure what's going on, check that voltage, and it might be too low, in which case you need to go to generator power. Now, the converse is also true. You can have voltage that's too high, right? You start getting up above 124 volts, what happens is things just start blowing up in your face, right? Because they're not really rated for that kind of high thing. Now, for those of you in the 50 hertz zone, you're dealing the 220. Do the math accordingly. Look, low voltage does the same thing at 50 hertz 220 as it does at 60 hertz 110. So be careful. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a little cheap old voltage meter and stick it into the socket. Don't use the butter knife you used when you were a kid. It doesn't work. And just double check. There's sometimes the better part of value is to unplug your gear and save it for another day and apologize, than have your whole system go down and possibly cause a danger for yourself and others who may be near.
Even if it's for yourself.